Hey guys, Two-Time Marine here with another MOS Profile. Today talking to a Marine, a corporal who is a Mortarmen, and I figured that this would be the best way to go in terms of getting you guys the information, because he would obviously know a bit better than I would when it comes to mortars. So, yeah, without further ado, go ahead.
All right, hey guys. I'm a corporal with a 2-4 Echo Company. That's in Pendleton. So yeah, mortars. Where to start?
You can talk about how SOI is, the infantry
Okay.
training.
So SOI. SOI is, how do I put this? In boot camp you do basic warrior training and grass week. And so SOI is kind of like that, but it's more like realistic, I guess you could say, in a way that like you're doing more training for your MOS if you're going into an 0300 field. Um, if you're going into an 0300 field, you got like 3 months of basically just you go over. There's a lot to learn, like. I mean, you don't just know how to do stuff. You have to learn how to react on contact. You learn basic strategies like tactics. Like you have to learn different ways to advance on like line. There's a ton of different ways that you got to patrol. You have to learn patrol techniques. There's a lot of stuff that they cover. So a lot of it is classroom time. And then a lot of it is also in the field. You go out there and you do what you're supposed to do. And it's been a while since I've been to SOI. Almost done with my 4-year contract. So sorry if I don't remember all of the details. But
Well, do they split you up?
Yeah, they.
By
I was
MOS.
just about to get to that. Partway through. SOI, I want to say it's almost halfway through, they split you up into your MOSs. And so the 0311s and the future LAV crewmen, they go and they do their own thing, where they will be training in just more heavily trained in the standard infantry deal. And then the other guys, we split off into weapons company, where we learn assaultmen learn basic demolitions and how to fire the SMAW. Us mortarmen, we learn how to employ and utilize mortars, and the machine gunners learn how to set up machine gun positions and utilize those things. And so I'll go into detail a bit on mortars. So and we're service operated, and so we work on a team, kind of like artillery. We're employed kind of affectionately known as pocket artillery, and so we do pretty much the same thing. In theory, we deploy behind the grunts, the rest of the grunts. Set up our mortars, stick in our firing stakes, and then we wait for them to radio back where they want us to aim. We do a little math, point it where we want it, and we start trying to put rounds downrange. And the thing is, with mortars, once you shoot it, a competent enemy can pretty much pinpoint where you are after 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to be sticking around too long. So in SOI, I remember doing a lot of you set up then you take it all apart, then you set it up again, and you take it all apart again. And we just did that over and over and over until we could pretty much do it as fast as possible. And we were able to just move from where we needed to be in pretty much an instant. That was the point of it, was you'd be able to know what you wanted to do without even having to think about it. That was the goal of things. And so I work on the 60 millimeters, and that means I am attached to, when we move, I'm attached to a rifle company, not a weapons company. And that means most of the time when I was in Afghanistan, we didn't really use the mortars at all.
Mm-hmm.
There was 1 or 2 times we did bring them out, and we humped the hand firing base plate, the mortar itself, and then just a shit ton of rounds.
And how much do each of those rounds weigh?
They're trying to. I think they're trying to switch in the lighter rounds, but they're not. I mean, they add up. I don't exactly remember the exact weight of one, but they can get heavy pretty fast. Hang on one sec. But it depends on a little bit on charge. We have the different types of charges. We have the smoke, high explosives, helium rounds. Those are the ones we really use. And then we have the 3 fuses. So basically we function the same way that a artillery unit does, in that we set up, and then we have to prime rounds, get our charges set on how much we want to use. We have to pick the point detonating fuses, the timer fuses, or whatnot. You know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what else. I mean, anything else you want me to go into detail on? Because I feel like I'm just gonna start rambling if I don't have.
So you said you work. Yeah, no problem. You said you work on the 60s. Is there another size that you guys use?
Oh yeah. It's mainly just the 60s and then the 81s.
81s, that's right.
But I've never really touched the 81. I mean, we had to touch them. We had to know how to use them, obviously. And SOI, they don't want you not knowing what you're doing. But most of the time, I just stuck to the M224, 60 millimeter, and I don't know. What else do you want me to talk about? Like,
are the 81s able to be carried on patrol, or are they too big to go on foot?
I'd say the 81s, you don't want to really be humping. Those weigh a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine the base plates are less than friendly.
Oh yeah, dude. The base plates are easily in excess of, like, they're probably around 20 pounds a piece. I wouldn't want to be carrying that. 20 pounds plus whatever else you're carrying, just that every pound adds up.
Oh yeah, over the smallest amount of distance, you'll start to feel it.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like I could go into hand firing real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, basically what we did when we did employed our mortars, and was in close support when we knew we were going to be taking contact. And so we would bring in the M224, and there was like a much smaller base plate that you could use. Weighed like not even close to as much, so that was always better. and basically you don't have the time to attach the sight unit, the bipod, or anything like that. So you set up, you have to estimate range, and then there's math to it, and you calculate the angle that you want it to be at, and then there's a trigger at the bottom of the mortar, where you hold it, and you can set the mortar to fire either as soon as you drop it in, or you can set it to be hand fired.
Oh, okay.
And so you drop the round in, and when you're doing that, the crew switches to a 2-man crew to avoid accidentally double loading.
Oh, okay.
Because when you have the bipod deployed, you have one guy supporting it. He does the measurements, and he holds the mortar in place. You have one guy who drops the round in, and one guy who's priming the rounds and setting the charges. But because that would be dangerous to have one guy putting it in and then one guy firing it by himself, we switch that out so that we just have one guy priming and setting the charges, and then he hands it to the guy who's going to be firing it and holding it. And,
okay.
Yeah. And that reminds me of the incident that happened a while back in Nevada where they had the double loading. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you knew exactly what happened, because too much on it.
I mean, obviously, we went over the situation that happened, what exactly transpired that led to the weapons malfunction, and I think they said it was double loading because they were hand firing it, or rather, they went to fire the mortar, and they put in a second round before the first one had left the tube. I don't remember exactly. I think they were hand firing it in a 3-man team, which is why we've been doing the 2-man teams as of late.
Gotcha. And so essentially both rounds went off then?
Yeah, because the bottom round went into the top round and it detonated there. So it detonated in the tube, set off the second one. And that was not good.
Yeah, I imagine you probably had a safety stand down for a day or two.
Yeah. And they were about to recall the entire weapon system. It was pretty bad. They were going to, they said you couldn't touch, I think it was a defense department wide. So the Army and the Marines, I think, were the only ones who used mortars. We weren't allowed to touch the M224s. We weren't allowed to, use them at all. They said, don't even use them while we conduct this. We need to figure out what went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's how it is.
I mean, it may be a little over the top, but it's better than, having 7 more Marines die.
Yeah, they had no clue what happened. And that's, I mean, 7 Marines dying in a training accident, it's a serious thing. So they don't want to take risks. Mortars have always kind of been not the most consistent weapon system.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how they are. They get hot fast. Put a round in while they're hot, and you can have it blow up in the tube too. So you gotta, time it. Make sure that you're not putting in too much too fast.
Yeah, howitzers are the same way, but I mean, it takes a lot more.
Yeah.
Than a mortar. And then the nice thing is that we have a temperature gauge on the tube, and so you can watch it the whole time. And I've fired it when it's in the red. You're not supposed to, but my stat sergeant would have killed me if I would have stopped firing. So
yeah, SNCOs are worse than artillery rounds sometimes. So reminded. I was just gonna say, I'm reminded of a song, and there's a line in it, and it's like, "I'd rather drive over an IED than ever have to hear my BC speak to me." So it's my favorite line in any song. So
I'll have to post that song. The Marine that sings that is hilarious.
yeah, he's a great guy. I love that song.
I was going to ask, in a perfect world, how far are you emplaced from where you expect to drop the rounds at?
Um, in a perfect world, we would like to be anywhere between 500 to 1,000 meters
Mm-hmm.
because we have an effective range of up to 3,500 meters.
Oh, okay.
And so, in a perfect world, we like to be a distance back from where we want to shoot, but we don't want to be too far that we're too far back that if the area we're trying to area of effect or wherever we're trying to fire changes, we don't want to be too far back that we become a non-factor.
Mm-hmm.
So, and usually 500 meters, you're out of range of regular small arms for the most part. So that's really where we would be.
Do you guys have an FTC, or is that all calculated down on the line in terms of the math for it?
It depends. Obviously, when you're doing it for 60 millimeters, because we're attached to a weapons platoon and not our entire company, a lot of times we don't have FTCs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we basically just get it directly from the guys we're attached to. They'll relay back like, this is where we need you to put rounds, and we'll be like, all right, hang on, time to drop the spades and get to work.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the 81s definitely would have them because they set up well behind. They pretty much set up only in the only on like fobs or COPs or whatever. They don't really move as much.
Yeah, with that sort of weight, I imagine it's probably best to just sit them still.
You just leave it.
Well, overall, how much do you enjoy mortars? I mean, obviously, there's plenty about infantry in general that sucks, but how do you like the job?
A lot of people say mortars are the pogue of the infantry and the skatist of the infantry. I tend to agree with the skatist part. I mean, I like it. I enjoy what I do. I joined the Marines. I think I could touch on that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Back in high school, way back when, I wasn't the most motivated individual with my schoolwork. I just decided I really didn't care about school and I wasn't going to try. And so I wouldn't do the work, and my grades obviously suffered. And I still did well enough that I probably could have gone on to college, and my parents could have paid for a decent amount, but that wasn't really what I was looking for. So I joined the Marines. I kind of already knew I was going to do it well before high school. It had been something I wanted to do. I had family in it. Mm-hmm. But I really decided I wanted to do it in high school. I was like, it was down to officer versus enlisted, and I wanted to do enlisted, and I wanted to go to boot camp, and boot camp really turned my life around. I developed a lot of self-worth. I got a lot better work ethic. I decided it was worth doing what I wanted to set my mind to, and so after that, so that's why I joined. And I just didn't want to do a desk job. I wanted to do something you can't do somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So I joined the infantry, much to my parents' remorse. And I remember walking out of MEPS with my 0300 contract. I was like the happiest person in the world. Got back to my parents. I was like, I got my 0300 contract, and they were so mad.
Was it open infantry, or was it specifically for mortars?
It was open infantry. It was 0300. I wanted to do I put 0341 top. So in my family, I had an uncle who was 0351, and he served in peacetime. He didn't deploy to combat in the late 80s. And I
That'd
had
be rough
another
with the amount
uncle.
of hazing.
Yeah.
4 years and no deploying.
He was apparently the guy that fucked with his superiors. Just was like, I don't give a shit. He so that was back when they were testing like landing craft stuff, and they told him to hop in. He was, I really admire my family did it. So sorry if I go on a tangent, but he turned to his lieutenant, and he told him, "You want me to get off this perfectly good boat into that thing that hasn't really been tested and could sink at any moment, and you want me to be the first one in it?" And the lieutenant turned him around and smacked him in the helmet with his rifle butt and just shoved him in there. He was that guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can't blame him, though.
Yeah, I really can't. Those things suck even knowing they're not going to sink. And you still don't know if they're going to sink.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then my other uncle, he was an 0351, he was an assaultman. And then my other uncle served 12 years. He was a staff sergeant. He served in Iraq. I think did like 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. And he was an 0311. And so I kind of wanted to do something different. And I didn't want to be a machine gunner, because they carry the heavy stuff all the time. And I was like, ooh, no bueno. I put 0341, 0351, and 0311 as my 3 picks that you put down on your wish list at SOI, and I got 0341, and went from there. And so yeah, I enjoy it. When we go to the field, most of the times what we do is we split off from everyone else, and we'll start setting up mortar positions. And because rounds are too expensive, we'll sit there and play spades until we're told, all right, time to move, and then we'll move, and then we'll pretend to shoot mortars, and then we'll move again, and then we'll shoot MRE bombs out of them.
That makes me wonder. I'll have to ask my guys that are still doing artillery and see if they've had a huge cutback on ammo. You know, because each of our rounds is thousands of dollars.
But
sorry, go ahead.
I think I told you about how I had a friend who was going into artillery recently. Like, he just graduated his MOS school like a couple months ago.
Okay.
And I think he still does a lot of in the field artillery stuff. It might just be the nature of the MOS. But I know that for the most part, when we do training, they use illum rounds, just because you can kind of see where they're dropping, and smoke rounds. So we rarely ever use the live high explosives for training, just because they're expensive and you don't need them, because they don't really show you where you hit as well as smoke cartridges and illums do. So
yeah, it can be tough to actually see it.
Oh yeah, most of the times you don't see it at all, especially with mortars, just because it's high angle of fire. You're usually shooting over a hill.
Yeah, in an ideal world, that's where artillery likes to be as well, behind something, so that makes it tougher for the enemy to find us.
Yeah, they like to put us right behind hills because of our high angle of fire. We don't really lose any range, because I know on artillery, if you're right behind a hill, you can't hit certain ranges that are closer. But with mortars, you're still good to go on your entire range.
That's nice.
Yeah. So that's why they like to put us right at the base of hills where we're out of the way. But yeah, most of the times you don't really see what happens anyways, so But I like it. I enjoy the MOS. I think it's pretty cool. It's definitely not something you can do somewhere else, and I think that the being the pocket artillery that we are, the mobile like light artillery that we function, we can still be infantry. We still, every time we go to the field, everyone still has an M16, regardless of if they're humping the main gun or not, the bipod, the base plate. Well, I can talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
The crew, even though the crew services by 3, we still have 4 guys on the team. Each team has 4 guys, and so what that means is we also have an extra guy for security.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so basically what they'll do is, well, the 3 guys are doing it. If you have all the guns in the company, so your entire weapons platoon, all of the guns in the weapons platoon, and then you'll have the security set up. But that's usually how it works. Is we have 4 guys, 1 security, one guy, he takes care of the ammo, loading and prepping charges, 1 guy who sets ranges and sets up the mortar itself, and then 1 guy who loads and fires the mortar. So that's how our 4-man crews break down.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I didn't know that it was a
Yeah,
4-man team.
Yeah, I thought I should throw that in there. Yeah, what else? I could talk a little bit about just general Marine stuff, if you'd
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, by all means.
I don't know. Pendleton is the biggest base, I think. We basically what the Marines. I just can go through my everyday routine because I feel like no one really talks about what everyday things are. I'll wake up, and since I'm married, I don't live on base. I got out of that as soon as possible. But normally you'll wake up, you'll go to your morning formation, and times change. Sometimes on the fly. You'll get there. You'll be briefed on what you're going to be doing for a day. You'll go off. You'll start doing it. You'll do another formation and then break for lunch. Yeah, you usually have an hour or so for that. And then you come back, do another formation, start your afternoon duties. And then you come back from those, do one more formation, and hope that it starts on time.
Yes.
We were talking about that a little earlier. But you hope it starts on time, and then you leave for the day. You pretty much go do your own thing, unless you have something else you're supposed to be doing. And most of the times, what duties can be are, for grunts, you'll be cleaning everything. Cigarette butts, got them. Pebbles that are misplaced in the parking lot, got them. Broken glass with beer bottles with your bare hands, got them.
Of course.
I have the worst used condoms, chuck them at people.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's how. That's kind of how it is. That's what you do. You clean your weapons. You go over your weapons. You watch PowerPoints on your weapons. Watch PowerPoints on everything. Watch the PowerPoint that you watched last week a second time, just in case you forgot. And yeah, that's what you do most of the time. And as boring as that sounds, because you're not going out there and killing Haji's or whatever, that's kind of your job. That's what you get paid to do. Is you get paid to be able to react without thinking. And to do that, you have to make sure all of your equipment's good to go, ready to go. And how to react in different situations. That's what the PowerPoints are for. And how not to be arrested for stupid things when you're on leave, because then you can't do anything. That's also what PowerPoints are for.
What did remind me, how often, at least in Pendleton, how often do you go to the field, and then how long are you out there for when you do want to average?
Hang on. That depends on the unit a lot. 2-4, we go maybe once a month for a week. That sounds about right. That's usually how often we go. Sometimes they'll split it up, and we'll go like three times a month for 3-day things.
Mm-hmm. And you're just sleeping out there, in your bags and
you go out there, sleeping bags. Bring those AA phone charger things and hope no one cares when you have your phone out. And since I'm an NCO, I rate high enough so no one can tell me what to do, which isn't actually true, but I like to pretend that's the case. Yeah, you go out, you camp out, you do what you're supposed to do. Make sure that you're still operationally ready. If something were to kick off right now, you need to be 100% in shape and ready to go. So
mm-hmm.
that's what the field's for. That's what we do.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, is there anything else?
I don't know. I mean, anything else you want to talk about, or just?
I think that pretty much covered everything as far as I can think of.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, I definitely appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
And if you guys have any questions, I know this Marine watches the videos, and so if you post to this video in the comments, I'm sure he'll be able to answer any questions that you guys may have. Then, yeah.
Yeah. And sorry if I wasn't clear or informative on everything. I can go into more detail if anyone has any specific questions in the comments. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. As always, hit me up, or hit this Marine up if you have anything, and I'll see you in the next one. Semper Fi.